Hi, I'm Mike Wright. This question's for Ray. With reference to the earlier question asked by the people of the Community Association, they asked what you were going to do if you were re-elected. And I thought that was interesting that you talked about the other MPs do, because basically it sounded like you were just reading back newspaper clippings of what's happened over the past 3 years. So I guess my question is, if you do have a plan, why didn't you tell us what it was at that time? Or is it that you don't want to tell us what the plan is in the case that it endangers a majority government for Stephen Harper?
You kind of lost me on the curve there. I think I heard you say, is there a plan? And I said there was a plan, and the plan is to increase probability of resources for the Palliser riding, to look at avenues that we can get our fair share of dollars that are available. We want to put those dollars to work. We know that there's a big hole in our infrastructure programs throughout Canada, and certainly Saskatchewan is no exception to that. We know that we have to generate dollars to help with the basic appealing kind of things, but nevertheless, if we don't have them, we're in big trouble. And I'm talking about water and sewer and light and power and energy. And those things all take money, and we have to do the best we can to generate those dollars to help cities, towns, and villages in this riding. So that's part of it. The other part I would suggest to you is that we continue to put recreational facilities, which in fact is a preventive health measure. People that are healthy and work out regularly and enjoy walking and jogging and recreational activities certainly live longer. There's no question about that. So we will definitely put that in place. We've already alluded to the fact that healthcare is an issue, not only for Palliser, but for across Saskatchewan and Canada. We put together part of a program that didn't see the light of day, but I'll share that with you. It's $20,000 tax credit for physicians that work in the rural part of Canada, and $10,000 extra for nurses that work in the rural part of Canada. So those are specifics. Is there another question?
Sure, yeah. If the importance of infrastructure is great to the Conservative government, why was there not a single elected representative or a single bureaucrat from the federal government at the National Infrastructure, the first ever National Infrastructure Summit held here in Regina?
With due respect to you and your statement, you're wrong. I was there, checked the registration, and I took part in this.
Well, this is the first time I've seen you here, so I don't recognize your face, I guess.
We probably move in different circles, I imagine.
Well, I think I guess this sort of allows me a chance to riff off back on what I think I would do, because I think the question was specifics as to what I would do as your member of parliament. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, well, what I will do, as I laid out earlier, that I have certain priorities. I have priorities to parents who are dealing with childcare. I have priorities to students who are dealing with the increased cost of tuition, and priorities to seniors who are on fixed incomes. Now, and that includes the insufficient increases in the CPP. And as your member of parliament, one of the commitments I can give to you is if members of parliament are going to be voting increases to their own salaries and their pensions, I won't do that unless I'm giving an increase to the pension, the public pension, the CPP, that all of my bosses, being you, are entitled to. So I think it's important we prioritize the citizens of Palliser first. Now, in terms of infrastructure, many of you will remember that earlier on this year, we came within hours of a boiled water advisory right in Regina and Moose Jaw because Buffalo Pound had an electrical problem. Now, when we're talking about infrastructure projects and you compare that to buying F-35 fighter jets, I'm sure most of you would rather know that the water that comes out of your tap is safe rather than having F-35 stealth fighters that most of our allies across the world are now pulling out of. So I think focusing on clean drinking water is a priority, and the infrastructure projects that we provide and the funding we provide to municipalities is insufficient now. We have to increase that and let our municipalities have the creativity and the leeway to address the types of problems that they're having right now.
I think I'll let Ray's answer stand for itself. The priorities with regards to infrastructure spending, I think everyone here will agree it's such a huge hole. And what we all have to recognize is there's only one taxpayer. Whether you're paying taxes to the city of Regina or you're paying taxes to the province of Saskatchewan or whatever province you live in, or you're paying taxes to, to the government of Canada, basically. I think what it comes down to is we have to make some choices here. We have to free up those dollars. And as Noah has said, one portion of freeing up those dollars is with these fighters and going to a tendered format on them. Another one is having a good long look at the prisons that we have and deciding what work is required before we go off and spend God knows how much money on it. Of course, we got the corporate tax cuts. I'm not saying let's roll them right back to where they were when we started this 5 years ago. I am saying let's roll them back to last year's level, and we'll take advantage of the increase in basically it comes down to cash flow. It's the same as a business. The dollars in and dollars out. We do have to come to a new agreement with the municipalities in this country, because coming from a construction background, I will tell you that if we do not come up with an agreement, and if we do not start spending dollars now on aging and failing infrastructure, it's going to cost us a ton more later. You can spend $10,000 a kilometer over 10 years on maintenance for a highway for 10 kilometers, let's say, or you can spend $250,000 if you don't spend anything on it. I think we found that out the hard way in this province over the last few years. Some hard choices are going to have to be made. You can't deal with everything. I mean, some issues are going to have to be dealt with at a local level. Everybody's got their hand out. That's just the truth of the matter. Some issues will have to be dealt with at a local level, some at a provincial level. I don't think that the federal government should be the end-all be-all when it comes to sharing everything 30-30-30, or us, the federal government covering half and the province covering half. The people that utilize those facilities, there's an obligation for them to pay for part of them also, and sometimes the whole part.
All right, well, I'm going to use this question to talk about infrastructure, and in particularly, thank you for bringing up recreation. Let's talk Moose Jaw Multiplex. Fun topic. I live in Moose Jaw. My taxes are going through the roof. There is a brand new hockey rink that is built in this downtown center. There are 200 parking spots for an arena that will hold 5,000 in a concert setting. There has been no planning. The multiplex is going to be an enormous burden for the people of our city to pay off. We went from being a city, Moose Jaw had no debt before this project. We now have more debt than any other city in Saskatchewan, and not per capita, overall debt for our multiplex. I'm all for recreation. I'm also for making sure that we have money for infrastructure like sewer upgrades. I recently held a public meeting in Moose Jaw to say, okay, we have this building, it's up, it has fragmented our community, so let's do some innovative thinking, some green thinking. Let's use the Moose Jaw Multiplex to be a power generating hub for the rest of our city. Get the renewable energy industry going. It's a massive roof. It wasn't built solar passive or really built for solar panels. That's unfortunate. But we're still going to use that large roof space. We could use that as a power generating hub for the rest of our city. Put our capital dollars into renewable energy and end up lowering the debts that we have taken out for that multiplex on our taxpayers. Now, when we speak about taxes too, city-wise, our cities are definitely underfunded and they cannot meet the infrastructure costs in the future. It goes back to our tax structure it's outdated, just like our electoral system. At the time that our tax structure was decided federally, provincially, and municipally, 8 out of 10 Canadians were living in rural communities. It is so different today, and it's a huge problem. And making the situation worse by putting all of our tax dollars onto a recreation facility has not been a good sign of planning or strategic thinking. It has been a real headache for people that really care about our city to try to figure out innovative solutions with. So thanks for bringing that topic up.